Welcome to another episode of Waves of Wellness. I'm your host, Lisa Harper, and today we are exploring an intriguing topic that dives deep into the interplay between sexual energy and spirituality. How does something as intimate as orgasm transcend mere physicality? What can it teach us about ourselves and our connection to the universe? To help us unpack these questions, we have invited Dr. Michael Renfield, a renowned expert in sexual alchemy and energy work. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm thrilled to explore this topic with you and our listeners.
So let's jump right in. The orgasm is often thought of in strictly biological terms, yet you describe it as a profound psychological and spiritual experience. Can you elaborate on this?
Absolutely. When many people think about orgasm, they might only consider the physical sensations and the biological release that occurs. However, in many mystical traditions, orgasm is viewed as what's called la petite mort, which literally translates to the little death. This term signals a moment where the ego shatters, allowing a person to transcend ordinary perception.
That's such an evocative phrase. Can you explain what you mean by the ego shattering?
Sure, the ego is the part of our psyche that governs our sense of self, our individual identity. In moments of intense pleasure, like during orgasm, this ego can dissolve temporarily. When that happens, individuals might find themselves in this non-dualistic state where they feel interconnected with everything. It's not about completely eliminating the ego, more like transcending its limiting boundaries.
Interesting. So it's comparable to breaking free from a cage that you know is there but has limited you. Once the lock is broken, you find freedom, yet you can still utilize the cage when you choose.
Exactly, Lisa. The ego is a tool. It provides structure in our lives, but we shouldn't be confined by it. Through practice, one can learn how to access and exit the ego structure at will, which can lead to greater personal empowerment.
Now, let's touch on the physiological aspect. You've mentioned that there are 5 distinct neurophysiological stages of orgasm. Can you briefly outline these for our listeners?
Certainly. The 5 stages are: first, the swelling phase, where blood engorges the genital tissues. Second, the muscular contraction phase, characterized by rhythmic muscle contractions in the pelvic region. Third is the conscious experience of climax, where the brain processes the sensations. Fourth, there's fluid ejaculation, which varies widely between sexes. Finally, we have the deflation phase, where the body returns to its baseline state.
That makes sense. And there are notable differences in how males and females experience these stages, right?
Absolutely. Males tend to experience a very brief interval between the third and fourth stages, often perceiving them as simultaneous. In females, this interval can be longer, and sometimes the fourth stage may not occur at all during a given encounter. This understanding is crucial, especially if one is looking to engage in practices like sex magic.
Sex magic. That's a juicy topic to dive into. You mentioned that simultaneous orgasm can create a powerful magical condition. Can you tell us more about why that is?
Absolutely. When partners reach orgasm together while embodying what we call divine presences, their combined energy can create a force much greater than individual experiences. It's about creating a unified wave of energy that can be directed toward intentions or goals.
But I imagine there are some challenges in achieving this synchronization, right?
Yes, indeed. For men, issues like premature ejaculation can arise, so they often need to strategically manage their energies by pacing themselves, using breathing techniques, or engaging pelvic floor muscles to help maintain their excitement longer. On the flip side, approximately 60 to 70% of women have reported challenges achieving orgasm with just penetration, so they require additional stimulation, often through the clitoris, to reach that peak.
It sounds like communication is key. Speaking of energy, you also discuss semen retention. How does that fit into this whole practice?
Great question. The distinction between orgasm and ejaculation is foundational in advanced sexual alchemy practices. A male can experience orgasmic pleasure while retaining semen, redirecting that sexual energy upward rather than expelling it outward. This can provide immediate physical enjoyment as well as long-term benefits such as increased stamina and rejuvenation.
I love how this ties into personal empowerment and spiritual growth. Can you explain how one manages semen retention during sexual activities?
Certainly. The practice involves what I call the three-gate lock system. You engage three locks. The lower lock, using pelvic floor muscles to prevent downward movement of fluids. The middle lock, with the abdominal muscles to help redirect energy upwards. And the upper lock, engaging throat muscles to send energy to the head. To aid this, practitioners often utilize techniques like vase breathing, which works on inhaling deeply while engaging the lower lock and visualizing the energy rising up the spine. This requires consistent prior practice before engaging in partnered activities. It's not something you can just dive into without conditioning.
So the idea is to build that muscle memory before trying it out with a partner. That makes sense.
Exactly. And then there's energy cycling between partners, which is fascinating. Instead of energy dissipating, it circulates, creating a feedback loop that amplifies the magical potential of both individuals. It's foundational for couples who wish to engage in energy work together.
Can you walk us through the basic cycling protocol?
Of course. First off, partners generally should start by establishing a divine connection, maybe through some form of invocation. Next, they initiate what we call inner fire practice during their sexual play, maintaining their energy cultivation. Synchronizing breathing patterns between partners is crucial. From there, they can kiss and will their fire to enter each other's mouths. The energy is then circulated through body contact, fostering greater intimacy and energetic exchange. The process includes switching the direction of cycling periodically to keep the energy flowing and vibrant. This ideally lasts for at least half an hour before both partners climax simultaneously without ejaculation, drawing that refined essence upward through the central channel.
And this can be extended to other energy centers. We're not limited to the genitals, correct?
That's a great point. Practitioners can experiment with different chakra points beyond just the base of spine connection. For instance, heart-to-heart energy cycling can deepen emotional bonds and perceptions of reality.
Wow, that's beautiful. The idea of enhancing emotional intimacy alongside sexual energy is really compelling. How about oral stimulation? We should touch on that.
Oral stimulation offers distinct advantages since both partners experience identical sensations, creating greater control over timing and achieving synchronized orgasms, which are particularly effective for women who often climax through oral contact. Additionally, men can communicate closeness to climax, facilitating synchronized release.
This conversation is so eye-opening. Now, sigil magic seems to be a significant element you've talked about. How does orgasm play into sigil activation?
Yes, the orgasm creates a mental state known as Gnostic consciousness, where the ego dissolves and one's psychic receptivity is heightened. This state is perfect for magical manifestations, especially through sigil work. In solo practices, the release of energy during orgasm can activate a prepared sigil. In partnered practices, the combined energy can be likened to the magical offspring of the couple, amplifying the intent behind the sigil.
Now, sigil preparation is crucial, right? You mentioned body painting?
Exactly. Traditional sigil methods involve placing them around a space. Modern practices, however, can incorporate body painting, which not only charges both bodies as magical tools, but also creates a focus on the partner instead of external sigils. Plus, it can transform the sigil application itself into a form of foreplay.
What a creative approach. And you also touched on invoking deities, which is another layer of depth. How important is this?
Invoking the right deities is essential to aligning with your intended outcomes. For instance, for manifesting a job, you wouldn't want to mix up Eros, who's associated with love and desire, with chaos. It's a matter of specificity to channel precisely the energy you wish to work with.
This is all so intricate, Michael. From what we've discussed, it's evident that the practice requires not just physical skill, but deep emotional and psychic awareness.
Absolutely. It's an integrated practice where physical, emotional, and spiritual energies all come together, requiring commitment, understanding, and communication.
As we approach the end of our conversation today, let's talk about sigil effectiveness. You mentioned there's some debate around semen release versus retention for manifestation. Can you sum that up for us?
Of course, those who advocate for release argue that it sends the manifestation into reality symbolically. In contrast, retention proponents believe that holding semen creates a more potent form of orgasm, allowing for superior energy patterns and outcomes. Practically, those maintaining long-term retention should be mindful of not breaking discipline for single spells.
It appears that practices surrounding sexual energy cultivation not only enhance intimacy, but also spur spiritual awakening and creative potential. Thanks so much for this enlightening conversation, Michael.
Thank you, Lisa. It has been a pleasure to discuss these profound topics.
For our listeners, the key takeaways today include understanding orgasm as a gateway to transcend ordinary consciousness, the importance of energy cycling between partners, and the potential for sexual energy to be cultivated for purposes beyond pleasure, such as spiritual development and magical workings. Remember, the journey into sexual energy cultivation is deeply personal and at its core about connection, both to oneself and to others. Until next time, stay curious and open,